Help support our coverage with a free account on Privacy, the service that keeps you protected when shopping online. Get $5 to try it now by using promo code QZZ2J. And with Blueberry, the community that gives creators the power to make money, get detailed audience measurements, and host their audio and video. Get a 30-day free trial by using promo code Blueberry004.
And you are?
I am Robin Raskin.
Hey, Robin.
Founder of Living in Digital Times,
Yes.
partners with CES.
Actually, I have talked to you before now as you're bringing
I
that up.
knew you-
Yeah, I think a year or two
Sounded
ago.
familiar.
Yeah, I remember that now. So, yes.
So tell the audience about what we've got going on here.
So, everybody comes to CES, and you could feel the energy. It's so palpable and life-changing for so many people. So it occurred to me about 5 years ago, why not pick a couple of kids who are doing amazing things? And rather than having them like at 6th Science in the 8th grade or the 9th grade, have them come out here and see what's here. So CTA was nice enough to give me special dispensation to award 4 kids every year. We let them apply with an application. It's got to be scalable, it's got to be unique and innovative, and it's got to have some social good value.
Okay.
And we have 4 wonderful kids. You're going to meet 2 of them. They're under 20 years old.
Okay.
And we have kept track over all these years. They don't quit. They go on, and they all remember this CES as being that moment where they saw magic.
That's fantastic.
I had the opportunity a couple of years ago. I work with First Robotics, and it was one of the times where CES went over the weekend, and so it was kickoff weekend for the First Robotics competition, and the CTA allowed me to host a kickoff event at the North Hall. And then a couple of the kids got to go in and see. And this has been 5 years now. I continue to get emails from them because of the experience. They got a personal tour of Intel, and
that's very cool.
It's just such a cool thing, and they all remember that as the first time they saw exactly what the industry looks like.
And I think CTA has been really good about recognizing that it's reskilling and education, etc. That's going to make them 21st century learners.
Well, and I think the other thing, too, and I think Scott and I talked about this a day or two ago, is when you build entrepreneurship in a young person, those people stay where they're at. So there isn't anything, in my opinion, stronger for a community to build its economic infrastructure than getting young entrepreneurs.
Agreed.
They just won't move anywhere else because they've built their business there.
No, and once you taste it, know, and we try and reach out every way possible. We work with the Science Teachers of America, and we, go out to all the journalists and say, tell anybody that you can. I will tell you, most of our students over the years have been first-generation Americans. So I do want my little warning to American education is like, wake up. There are people working really hard, and they tend not to be white, endowed, privileged kids, but kids who are really scrappy and will work for this. So it's an interesting aside.
But I'd be willing to bet that most of the businesses in here, most of those business entrepreneurs when they first started, were all that way.
Exactly. Exactly. And
because you have to be. If you're not, you may get 1 year at Eureka Park, and then we never hear from you again.
Right.
You don't get the success stories of moving from Eureka Park to the top floor of the Sand or to the LVCC. And
I always think it's best to be underfunded and scrappy than overfunded and comfortable.
Yeah.
But how many 16-year-olds have you met that are all filing patents? I mean, these kids are amazing.
Yeah.
And actually, for the first year, we have great judges who are all really techie. But I had to go to experts in quantum, photonics, and say, could you help me evaluate this 16-year-old's application?
That's funny.
So they're
Why
so
am I
novel.
going to be afraid of this interview next year?
Oh, you have no idea. Really, you're putting it on the blockchain? Okay, well, let me just... And so we actually went out to so many experts going, let me talk to that kid. Last year, we had kids who got internships here.
Yeah.
So I think the industry, it's one of the happiest things that I do at this show, and we do a lot of things here.
Fantastic.
Yes, you do. and we're going to get to have the conversation about Digital Health Summit tomorrow, I think.
That's right.
So I look forward to that.
We just announced our last gadget standing. Winners MedWand, a tricorder-like device. I'm serious. That you can use remotely to tell your doctor, look at my throat, look at my heart, look at my lungs.
Wow.
And
That's awesome.
real-time translator from Waverly called Ambassador. That is the fastest multinational way to do global business.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Well, maybe one of these days, these two will will be competing in Last Gadget Standing.
That's exactly what they said this morning.
But let's hear from them and see what they're up to.
Thanks so much. Great to see you guys.
We're talking with the Young Innovators Awards winners now. Hello.
For having me.
Absolutely. Go ahead and introduce yourself for me.
Yeah. So I'm a 16-year-old innovator. I've been doing tons of cool stuff with blockchain and machine learning. So I basically worked on this platform using blockchain to track medication and supply chain. And so currently in our world today, around 10% of our medication is actually counterfeit. And in the developing world, this rises to like 40%. It's insane.
What?
Yeah, it's super crazy. And so I developed a platform to actually solve that problem. And I've been doing some stuff with machine learning around disease diagnosing using deep neural networks.
Okay, so before we get into the details on that, let's talk about how you ended up wanting to do an entrepreneurial type, self-started project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm actually part of this like human accelerator program based out of Toronto called the Knowledge Society.
Okay.
And so that's actually how I got initially exposed to these like emerging technologies like machine learning, blockchain, quantum computing. But I've always been like super curious to do like meaningful work. That's always been something in my head. Like, how do I just do something meaningful in the world? But I never really knew how. And so I think through this program, like you get exposed to these technologies, you're building projects, like you're developing your mindset, learning philosophies, and you really understand how you can possibly like, do meaningful work in the world as like a 16-year-old. Yeah.
That's really cool. I have a conference in Toronto that you should go to.
We'll talk later.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about the project. So we're using blockchain and AI to detect, track. What are we doing with the medication?
Yeah, so the way the current supply chain works is there's actually no tracking system. And so the reason for counterfeit medication is the fact that the supply chain is there's no sort of accountability system to see where these products are actually being sourced from, where they're coming from. And so often second wholesalers or repackaging happens with the medication. And so the reason why blockchain made a lot of sense for a platform to track the medication was because you need a system where people can easily trace what's happening with the medication. So on blockchain, you can basically note down each transaction.
Okay.
And then it's a trustful system. And so basically the project is a blockchain system, is a blockchain system to track medication and supply chain. And the way you do that is through basically interacting each step of the way with each stakeholder and verifying that the medication matches this like ID in the network.
Sure. And since blockchain is essentially, to dumb it down, it's obviously more than this, but it's a shared audit trail that's unalterable, right? So once the audit is created, we don't have to worry about it being, because any false information gets booted out during verification. So that it's a totally safe way to be able to track the transaction of changing hands of the medications.
100%.
That's awesome.
It's such a big issue that I think it's just an interesting application of the technology, and I think we still we haven't fully unlocked the potential of ways we can actually like interact with blockchain for like digital identity, counterfeit medication. There's so many interesting applications.
And there's been a whole lot of uninteresting applications.
Yeah.
Right. It's been applied to all kinds of nonsense, but eventually people were going to figure out ways to use it for better. And it sounds like that's exactly what you've done.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Is this something that you're hoping to actually, or have you maybe already bring to market? What what stage are you with this?
Yeah, so I actually worked with a few researchers from IBM Watson because they're doing a really similar project actually using blockchain.
Okay.
So I worked with some mentors from there to actually develop out the platform. I've been in talks with like a few researchers and a few clinics, mainly in the developing world, to see if I can possibly pilot it. But I think it's all about like just developing out the platform and like making it really good before I can actually like pilot it out and get people to use it.
Very cool. Well, I love this.
Yeah.
Is there information out in the world about it?
Yeah, you can check out, if you want, you can check out my website. So it's just www.alishbaimran.com. I also have LinkedIn. It's just my name, Alishba Imran. Twitter, whatever, like everything. I have articles on there. I usually tweet about my progress. So if you want to stay in touch, I would love that.
Absolutely. For sure. We will be in touch because I think this conference would be something that would be interesting to you. So.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And thanks for being on, and congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
We've been talking about blockchain off and on all week, and some of the applications in the past have been, who cares? But this one, we're finally starting to see people use blockchain for what it was intended to be, and that's wonderful because there's so much potential to the technology, and it's hardly ever been taken advantage of. I mean, a blockchain dating app. Don't care. Blockchain to protect the integrity of medication in the world, that's a noble endeavor. And we have another guest here. Hello.
Nice to meet you. I'm Stanley.
Nice to meet you, too. Go ahead and introduce yourself and your project.
So hi, my name is Stanley. I'm 16. I go to Arcadia High School in Southern California. So LA guy,
Gotcha.
Not too far away from here. And my project?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I basically developed this inexpensive and portable device that can perform disease detection onto a single system. It's inexpensive, about less than $2 to fabricate, user-friendly, less than 4 minutes runtime, and has, been a big project of mine over the past few years.
Okay. So before we get into the details on it, let's talk about what led you to want to be in this crazy entrepreneurial space.
Okay, yeah. So as a kid, I've always been interested in engineering, design and creation of all these different kinds of objects. So, I remember like as a child, I spent hours in my family garage, building all these sorts of Lego creations, or even just deconstructing some of my household appliances and looking at the different circuits and stuff like that. And as I got older and got into middle school, my teachers introduced me to all these sorts of different softwares, which I could design different things onto, designing bridges, all these simple sorts of things.
Okay.
And as I got older into high school, I realized I wanted to put myself out there and really see what was out there and what I could impact on. So in the summer of my freshman year, I emailed over 100 different labs in my surrounding neighborhoods. I got one reply, and
well, you know what? You got a reply.
Yeah, and now I'm working at the USC Department of Pathology, doing research and working on this project.
Okay, first of all, that's crazy.
Thank you.
And second of all, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So let's talk about exactly what the project, what the piece is.
Of course, yeah. So it's a diagnostic device for disease detection.
Okay.
So one of the big challenges in disease detection right now is that a lot of the disease detection steps, from drawing a patient's blood to running it through a centrifuge to process the blood to detecting the disease for whatever you're looking for, getting results, and then sending it back to the patient from the hospital to lab, and then back to the patient. That takes forever. That takes a few days. It's very time intensive. So what I really wanted to do was see how I could mitigate these steps into a single system.
Okay.
So that's what I have built, the amino-essence chip. It's a glass. It's about the size of a glass slide. It's a microfluidic device which uses a technology called acoustic-induced microstreaming.
It's a lot of words.
It's a lot of words, yeah. But the very brief explanation of it is that when an acoustic field acts upon a channel of air bubbles, they cause the air bubbles to oscillate, And when like a liquid like blood or something like that comes into contact with all these oscillating air bubbles, it creates what's called in my lab as a microvortex. So it creates the attraction and repulsion of the liquid around the microvortex, and separates blood cells based off of their larger sizes, and the plasma just flows through.
What? That's crazy. Okay, so crazy. All right, so obviously I feel like I can't be the first one to make the connection with the disaster that was Theranos, right?
Yeah, of course.
There's no way that everybody who's actually trying to accomplish this, not just saying they did, is going to be compared against that crazy collapse.
Of course, yeah.
So, has that been a problem for you up until now, or are you able to say, no, see, look, here it is, it actually, I'll do it for you?
Yeah, so I understand where you're coming from with the whole, Theranos, that was a disaster,
Yeah,
but
and potentially could set back the the medical diagnostic industry.
yeah, so the biggest thing for me, especially, working at, the USC Department of Pathology, is, being transparent with my results, with my data.
Yeah.
And, just doing clean science, and sharing my work with other people. So in terms of what the feasibility of a device like this in the medical industry is, it's in its prototyping stages right now.
Sure.
But based off of lab results, we have run a lot of different experiments and collected a lot of different data points to suggest that this device could be used in the future for these point of care tests, these diagnostic tests. And if we have more time, I can run you through some of the numbers. But
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think at some point I will have to be in contact with you because this is really cool.
Thank you so much.
And it's awesome that you won the award. As well, you should, because this is crazy.
Thank you.
And so, what was it that attracted you to medical stuff?
Just reading about all these, different things happening online. For example, I think when I was about, 13 or 12, I was shocked. There are millions of people, worldwide who die from these preventable diseases, including my aunt, who died from, colon cancer a few years back.
Gotcha.
Because of late diagnosis and because of the inaccessibility of, really sensitive and accurate, diagnostic tests that are accurate and available, to these people in third world countries, or even just, people in their neighborhood.
Yeah.
So I guess that has been the biggest inspiration for me and driving factor, in trying to, develop something and using my passion for engineering
Sure.
To address these problems.
Sure. So a personal experience led you down the path.
A personal experience. Yeah.
Gotcha. That's cool. That tends to be the way the best things happen. So, well, thank you for coming and talking to me today.
It's been a pleasure, sir.
Before you take off, if people want to find out more about what you're doing, is there a way they can do that?
I don't have a LinkedIn. I'm only 16, but I do have a website where I do talk a little bit more about this device. So you can either go on, you can either Google YoungInnovatorsWatch.com and look at my projects, or you can just Google the amino essence chip, which is the device I created, at squarespace.com, and you'll be able to find it there.
Very cool. Well, we are definitely going to be in contact because I'm loving this.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. Have a good show. Enjoy your time here.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I've been blown away by everything I've seen here.
It's crazy.
It's absolutely crazy, and I'm loving it. I'm only
Good.
16. I'm here. I'm loving it.
Very cool. Well, enjoy the rest of your time.
Thank you.